Hi, I'm Mike Dilk and you're listening to the Relax Back UK show, the show that explores all kinds of health topics relevant to you, your family and your friends. Each week I talk to expert guests from a range of backgrounds to inform and entertain you. So please do join the Relax Back UK family and stay tuned.
Hi, and thank you for joining me on the Relax Back UK show this week. First off today, two very interesting people, Janet Street Porter and Eamonn Holmes, with something in common. But what is it?
You really don't want to get it. It was one of the most unpleasant few weeks of my life, and it's hard to describe to people just how appalling the pain is and how little you can actually do about it.
It's shingles. There's information on exactly what it is, but more importantly, information on how you might avoid it. Then Dr Roger Henderson, he's a GP and health broadcaster with many years' experience, talks about skin.
We've got about 11 miles of blood vessels in it. And here's the kicker. It weighs about 9 pounds.
He tells us all about skin with special emphasis on eczema and psoriasis. So please do stay tuned for an informative and great show with some fantastic guests. Thank you. The first guests today are Janet Street Porter and Eamonn Holmes, both very well known. They've been in the public eye for a long time. The topic is shingles, but I started by saying to Janet Street Porter that I thought I remembered her from seeing her on TV laying into someone who'd blocked a footpath. So I asked, was that you?
Yes, it probably was me, because I was president of the Ramblers for 4 years, and I did go on television a lot during that time, ranting on about footpaths being blocked by landowners. But, yeah, Mike, I still walk. I still am a member of the Ramblers Association, and I'm still passionate about footpaths.
Well, I walk a lot and I like footpaths, and I do remember thinking when I was watching this, and he was a thoroughly nasty little man. He deserved all he got. But I remember thinking, God, I'm glad she's on my side as a footpath user. And
Exactly. Because the thing is, I'm fighting for your right to roam. So, that's it.
Well,
if I see a blocked footpath, I'm still furious. Anyway.
I can feel the fury coming over the airwaves, as we speak. And so, Eamonn, we've chatted about this topic, shingles, before. It was about a year ago. But I think a lot's happened to you since then. You've had an operation and a fall, and you've been kind of in a bit of a bad way. So how are you now?
Correct. I have legs that don't work, and I had a shoulder that didn't work for a while because I fell down the stairs. So it's been hard times, and it could lead me directly to having shingles again, because it's one of the things that the trigger factor is stress, and you can have it more than once, as Janet has had. You've had it more than once.
Yeah, I got shingles first in my late 30s or early 40s, when I was doing more or less what I'm doing now. I was doing a couple of TV shows a week, a late night one and an early evening one. I was doing a newspaper column. I was just working the way I work now. And I think I let stress build up a lot. And then I got this rash that started tingling, and I had no idea what it was the first time. And then it started spreading, and the pain was absolutely intolerable. I mean, absolutely intolerable.
People talk about the pain of shingles, but I think people that haven't experienced it find it hard to kind of really understand, because essentially it's a rash. So, how can a rash be painful? Kind of describe to us how that works.
Yeah, I would like to say the thing about the shingles is it's in a straight line. Well, it's in a line. The rash is not a big blob on your body. It's not spread out. It's in a distinct line. And the most important thing, it's the nerve endings that are absolutely tingling to the level that you can't even have clothing touch them.
Right. Well, you see, Janet, Mike, both Janet and I have had shingles, but not at the same time and not at the same parts of her body. Janet had it round her waist, as I understand it, Janet, and I had it on my face. And again, it's one side of your face or the other. So I was like Quasimodo at one stage, and it is particularly dangerous if it is around your eyes, which mine was. And the timing of mine was horrendous as well, because it was my eldest lad getting married, first one in the family, getting married. And this was 2 days before his ceremony. And obviously I'm thinking of the family pictures and all that sort of thing. And I wasn't the best example to be, set to be father of the groom there that day. So it brings back bad memories for me.
And so in your case, actually, didn't the rash get infected as well, which caused, potential real danger to your eyesight?
I can't remember about it being infected, but it just was dangerous. It was sumptuous. It was like large cold sores, and it just looked really, really awful. And it was weeping. It was weeping. Maybe that was the infection. I don't know. But, you get these antiviral tablets and you get creams and things. And certainly in my case, Janet, it took 2 weeks to clear up. What about you?
Yeah, the first time I had it, I started scratching it, which was fatal. So I started scratching at it, and then I had the scabs, and the doctor said to me, you have shingles, you must not touch it. You must stop all your work and rest. Well, that wasn't possible because I'd signed contracts to work, but I did stop everything that wasn't essential. The rash itself, eventually went after about 4 weeks. I got through it, but then, quite a lot of people who have shingles have this, secondary after effect, which is herpetic neuralgia, where the nerve endings continue to be painful for weeks on end. The rash has gone.
Right. Did you have that?
No, I didn't. The second time I got shingles was in 2012. And this is a bit spooky because you can't actually catch shingles from someone. You're likely to get shingles. You're more likely to get it if you've had chicken pox. And they've told Eamonn and I there's a 1 in 4 chance of getting shingles.
Because most people have had chicken pox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so the second time I got it, when I was doing Loose Women, and one of the presenters, Andrew McLean, she got shingles. And then Jane Moore, another presenter, stayed off work because she had shingles. It's completely unusual. And then I actually got it. And, didn't have it as badly the second time. It was on the side of my body. It was nowhere near as bad as the first time. But again, I had to stop work and calm down for a couple of weeks.
So the virus kind of lurks in your body from when you have chickenpox, and then at some point kind of erupts. And
exactly.
Does anyone know what brings that on? Is it? I mean, the way you've been talking,
aging brings it on.
Stress
brings it on. If you're over 50 years of age, your what's the word I'm trying to say? Your susceptibility increases. And if you have a very weakened immune system, all danger factors.
Yeah, that's why a lot of older people who are already recovering from one serious illness, like pneumonia, for example, shingles is a danger that you could then have shingles as you recover from pneumonia because your immune system is compromised and you're not at your strongest. Which is why, we're doing this to encourage everybody who's eligible to get signed up, to go on the Shingles website, read about shingles, find out all about it, how to identify it, and see if you're eligible for a vaccination.
Yeah,
right.
And if you're over 50, or if you've turned 65 from the 1st of September this year, or you're already between 70 and 79, you will be eligible for a free NHS shingles vaccination. There is a website from GSK, which is getshinglesready.co.uk, and that will tell you the signs to look out for and what to do if you do contract it.
Okay, so there's a vaccination is available. That must be relatively new, because I don't think you mentioned that last time, Eamonn. We were chatting about shingles.
No, all these things aren't you? All these developments, yeah, they happen. It's an ever-evolving situation, as is the NHS's policy towards it, yeah.
And is it a vaccination that needs boosters, or, do you need it every year? Because presumably, because the virus is inside you, it's not like changing like the flu. It's kind of, so does one shot work forever?
One shot works for most people, yes.
Have you both had the shot now?
No, I haven't, but I would have absolutely no objection about getting it.
Okay. I had a vaccination some years ago, so I'm going to have it again because I'm 76 years old, so I'm eligible.
Yeah, I thought, well, look, I've got this once, it's not going to come back, but it has every chance of coming back. And, I think it's something, I think you'd agree with me, Janet, that you don't want to get it, do you?
No.
You don't want to get it.
You really don't want to get it. It was one of the most unpleasant few weeks of my life, and it's hard to describe to people just how appalling the pain is and how little you can actually do about it.
Right. So if you get invited for your vaccination, go. Go and have the vaccination. No excuses.
But Mike, go on the website first of all, get shinglesready.co.uk. Go on the website and find all out everything about it.
Okay. Now, well, the answer to that may well be on the website. But if you're unlucky, you haven't yet had the vaccine, and you think you might have the symptoms, or you think you're worried that you might have shingles coming on, what do? What's the first thing you should do?
Your medical professional, see your doctor, see your chemist, see your pharmacist, and they are the medical professions. They are the people who will steer you in the right direction, and they will have the knowledge to tell you what it is or isn't. And I hadn't a clue what I was suffering from until I saw my doctor, and the doctor said that's shingles.
Yeah, because I think part of it, actually, it can be quite scary if you don't know what it is, and you've got this kind of rash, which is painful, which is sort of a weird thing to have. It's just a bit alarming.
Yeah, I did. Between the first bout of shingles and second, I was doing a documentary on the homeless, and I was filming rough sleepers, and I came out in a terrible rash that was itching, and that just turned out to be fleas. But I did go straight to the doctor.
I don't know which is worse. Which you'd have been better off with. All I know is I cannot look at my son's wedding album now because, I was like Quasimodo in this, and that was with having had a makeup artist on the day to try and cover me up there. But it's awful. You feel awful. My thing is, there's other things that go wrong with you as well. Your whole spirit, your whole energy is down. You're not right.
Mm.
We've only really talked about the rash, the tingling, burning, painful rash. Perhaps we should, which is worse, bad enough, but maybe we should just mention some other symptoms.
Well, I don't know. I felt, maybe a bit below par. I just remember the main symptom I had was shock. Looking in the mirror, and I'm thinking, my face is my fortune. What's going to happen to me now? And the blisters were quite scary. They were really quite scary from my point of view. But outside that, I didn't really feel anything. 2 weeks after it, they eventually dried up, and there were scabs there, whatever, and they went away. And luckily, I don't know about you, Janet, but I didn't have any sort of aftermath with it.
No, I haven't got any scars from when I've had it at all. All I remember is a complete depression, really, really depressed. Felt very, very low indeed. No energy for work. And I was supposed to be doing like a comedy late night show and getting laughs when you feel like that. It's not, it required all my acting ability.
I bet that bloke you were shouting at about the blocked footpath wished you had shingles at the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Thank you very much.
Not even him. All right. So you just to finish with, you mentioned a website. Mention that again.
GetShinglesReady.co.uk is the GSK website. You can, on that, tells you all about the vaccine, what it'll do, and whether you're eligible, and how to recognise if you've got shingles.
Right. And so this vaccine is on the NHS. So presumably, I'm assuming, I'm hoping, and I'm assuming that the NHS website gives you some good information as well.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So search shingles NHS and you'll find something useful as well. All right. So really, if you're invited for the vaccine, go and get the vaccine and save yourself a lot of bother. So,
don't even wait for the invite. Do what I do. Don't wait for an invite. Just go on the website, make sure you're eligible. If you're eligible, apply for it. Go on your doctor's website.
Okay. All right. Perfect advice there. So, Janet and Eamonn, thank you very much indeed for chatting. It's much appreciated. And last time, we spoke, Eamonn, I seem to remember I was trying to sell you a back app chair, which is good for your back. Now you've fallen down the stairs, perhaps I'll have to have a chat with you later on.
I've got a wonderful chair. You press buttons, it lifts you up, brings you down again. I've even got a Stana stair lift. That's how bad it all is.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I can't. We've got 29 stairs to get up. I can't do it. And it's a spiral staircase. And, you know, my wife, she nurses me. She nurses me the way Nurse Ratched nurse people. And one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
You said
You're
that.
going to be in trouble.
Well,
yeah, you are going to be in trouble, Eamonn.
Janet, she lacks the empathy.
That's what Peter says about me.
Yeah, you
don't like that.
See, but all she has to do is been caring and lovely. And then I say to her things like, could you get me that, please? Or could I get you that what? Could you get me the TV control? Could I get you the TV control what? And I look at her and think, what's she talking about? And then I realize I have to say the word to be like the dog and be fed a sausage or something. I have to say, please, may I, please, can I get, so I have to say please 3,000 times a day, basically.
Good. You're learning. You're being reprogrammed.
Look, I hope you get better.
Yes.
And I hope that, you manage to get the TV remote controller one way or another. But certainly for now, thank you very much indeed for chatting. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Dr Roger Henderson is a GP and health broadcaster. He's been a practicing NHS GP at the sharp end for around 40 years, so he's very experienced. And today I spoke to him about skin, particularly with regards to eczema and psoriasis. But I started off by saying that I had this idea, I can't remember where I heard it, maybe I learnt it at school, that actually our skin is our biggest organ.
It is. Now, and if you were to sort of ask the man on the Clapham omnibus, what's your biggest organ? Many people would go, oh, it's my heart, or it's my liver. But it is our skin. And when you start sort of drilling down into some of the fun facts about the skin, it's really quite something. You know, it covers about 2 square meters of us. We've got about 11 miles of blood vessels in it. And here's the kicker. It weighs about 9 pounds. And you wouldn't think, you know, you're lugging around this load of skin. And it's constantly renewing. It renews itself every month, every 28 days. So it gets rid of 9 pounds, you know, every year. I hate to bring this up, you know, if anybody's listening and eating, but every minute, we're shedding about 40,000 skin cells as we're sitting here chatting. You know, remarkable. And some estimates say that half of all the dust in our skin, which we in our homes, which we happily sort of hoover around, is skin. And so in my house, it's probably half skin, half dog hair, but it's incredible. But one of the reasons I sort of got interested in skin, apart from it being, you know, essential to our health, we make our vitamin D through our skin. It helps modulate our immune system. It's an amazing organ, but it's the only organ we've got really that we can see. Right. And this is a bit of a curse. Because if someone has a skin problem, not only can they see it, if it's not covered up, other people can see it.
Sure. And having said that, I just want to interrupt for a moment, because I think as far as design goes, the organ of the skin, it's a pretty good design, isn't it?
It's remarkable. It is absolutely miraculous. The more you look at it, the more you realize just what it does. It is actually an indicator of our general health and well-being. It's crucial for our general health, and it feeds. There's so many hormones and chemical interactions going on just under the skin that link in to the rest of our body and help reduce inflammation in our body and everything that goes with that.
Yes, it manages to keep out an awful lot of nasties, doesn't it?
It does. It is absolutely our biggest barrier. You know, it does what it says on the tin. It keeps the nasties out, and it keeps the rest of us in. Which, unfortunately, is why if you get someone with a really critical burn, you know, unfortunately, the death rate is so awful, because if you lose 70–80% of your skin, you just simply can't survive that loss. We have to have that cover, and problems with it are incredibly common. I mean, if the weight of the skin wasn't a fun enough fact, 1 in 4 of all GP consultations, a quarter, are due to skin-related issues. So, you know, you think of diabetes, heart disease, absolutely 1 in 4. And in my experience, that is absolutely the case. Now, it doesn't mean that those are catastrophic, dreadful skin conditions. Fortunately, the majority of skin conditions are readily treatable. But in most of the consultations I've had over the years, probably dry skin is the driving force behind.
All right, I was going to ask you, because I've been very lucky. I've got to the age of 57, and I don't think I've ever been to see the doctor with a skin problem. So it's kind of off my radar. So I was going to say, of these, you know, quarter of patients that come and see GPs, what are they worried about? What are the things that crop up most often?
Yeah, well, the big driving ones, you know, your acne, your eczema, your psoriasis, the unholy big three, if you like. Because if you have something like atopic eczema, you're also more likely to have asthma. You're also likely to have hay fever. There's that triad that goes with that. Right. So those are the, if you like, the day-to-day currency of general practice, the skin. But again, many of those are through the dryness of the skin that can go with that. Not so much acne, but certainly eczema and psoriasis. And again, if someone has a visible, if there's something on their face or their hands, something that other people can see, they will often trundle down to see a GP faster than if they've got something that can be hidden. Right. And this is a real. We may touch on this, that the mental health impact of skin conditions is absolutely huge and under-recognized.
I want to get back to that. I want to ask you a more basic question first, though. You've touched on eczema and psoriasis. I don't know what the difference is.
Right. So eczema is more common. Around 1 in 5 children will be affected by eczema at some point. Mm-hmm. Now, the majority of those will, as we often say, grow out of it. But it is a very, very common presenting complaint. And we're not quite sure what causes the typical symptoms of eczema, which the red, dry, itchy skin that you see in eczema. People are scratching it. It can weep, it can blister, it can crust up and scale. We're not quite sure. It's a complex condition. Patient susceptibility, environmental factors, they're all in there. And also contact with soaps and detergents. In a way, we are too clean. And again, I may touch on this. Our obsession to some degree with washing with soaps and highly perfumed products is actively harming our skin. So dry skin eczema, whereas with psoriasis, I mentioned the turnover of skin. We're reproducing our skin every 28 days. In psoriasis, that's when that skin turnover and production goes into overdrive. So we make too much.
Okay.
Again, it's linked to inflammation, but that's why you get the big, thick scales that you sometimes see in psoriasis on people's elbows and around their knees, sometimes on their trunks. And that's just big, thick collections of skin that can't be shed. We've just made too much.
Okay. And is that itchy as well?
It can be, but it's not as itchy often as dry skin eczema. One of the problems with psoriasis is that it can affect all the body, including nails. You can get quite a lot of other health problems related to it. But a salutary fact about psoriasis is that every year in this country, between 300 and 350 people kill themselves because of their psoriasis.
Okay.
And when I say that to people, they go, really? Absolutely. Not quite one a day, but not far off because of the impact. Now, if I've got a second, I want to tell you a very quick story. And this is one of the reasons I got into dermatology in my practice, took an interest in it. Years and years ago, this very nice late 30s professional businessman came to see me. He'd seen all my partners and doctors beforehand with his psoriasis, never really got to the bottom of it. Came to see me more, I think, in hope than desperation, because I was a senior partner, so we'd all go and see the top man, even though I wasn't the top man in the practice in any way. And I sat him down, went through all the questions, and out of the blue, burst into tears. And then when that happens in practice and you've got a full waiting room and you're running late, you can do one of two things. You can say, right, let's run with this and explore why this has happened, or try and shut it down and say, come back another time. And I always, in these situations, explore it, seize the nettle. And I said, right, okay, what's happening? And long story short, he was a single man. He'd had psoriasis all his life. And he said all he wanted was a hug. He had no physical contact with anyone for 10 years. He couldn't get into a relationship because he couldn't stand the thought of anyone the next morning seeing him sweep out his bed of the skin that he shed overnight. And he was absolutely distraught. Treated his psoriasis successfully. A couple of years later, in a very happy relationship, and he's moved on and is a very, very happy family man. But that just shows the impact that skin conditions can have. There was an all-party parliamentary group did a report on skin problems 2-3 years ago, and it found that 97% of people who had a skin condition felt their self-esteem was impacted by it. You know, and that's when you start to realize, okay, this is why skin's so important. And, you know, you sit down and watch your telly at night, we're bombarded by adverts about, you know, creams and lotions and lovely complexions and, you know, celebrities and stars sort of looking glowing and how you can sort of look wrinkle free and other nonsense like that. And it feeds into our cultural thing about, you know, why our skin should be perfect.
Right. So it sounds like what you're saying is that this, if anything, is more of a problem than the kind of itchiness and the annoyingness of having eczema or psoriasis.
For many people who do come along to GPs like me with a skin problem, it's very often because they've reached the end of their tether and they've tried everything that they think they should be trying. Right. And have said, no, I just can't be doing with this anymore. I'm so fed up. And, you know, there may be a crisis, a relationship has gone west because of it, or they don't want to go abroad on holiday because they don't want to take their top off, all sorts of things like that. And when you sort of talk to people, they're actually just doing very simple things wrong. So they're just looking after their skin in the wrong way, thinking they're doing the right thing.
Right. So perfect time to get on to what we can do about it then. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the 3 M's about looking after your skin: moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. Moisturize your skin ideally 2 to 3 times every day, and always try to use the most greasy, non-perfumed moisturizer that you can tolerate. Okay. And this is absolutely the message from the wayside pulpit to anyone listening today. This is the key thing about skincare. So you smooth any moisturizer on in the direction of hair growth, if you know what that means. So you're smoothing it down your arms along the direction of hair growth. If you're using a pot of moisturizer, don't keep putting your fingers in it every time, because that can become contaminated and a source of infection. So take some moisturizer out with a spoon or a spatula, put this on a saucer or a bit of kitchen roll or something, and then just use it on from there. Don't use soaps. Use moisturizers or soap substitutes. The big 4 to avoid, which can actively dry the skin out: soaps, bubble baths, shower gels, and detergents. Okay, very, very important. And there's also a moisturizer which people can sometimes use called aqueous cream. And this is sometimes actually prescribed, and it'd be quite popular. It was originally designed and developed as a soap substitute. To anyone listening using aqueous cream, please stop today. Aqueous cream can make atopic eczema worse, and it can damage the skin. We now never recommend aqueous cream as a moisturizer. So without realizing it, if you're using it, you may be making your skin worse. So,
does anyone know why? Do we know why?
There are certain chemicals in it that we didn't know about before, which actively harm certain layers of the skin now. So it was produced with all good faith, and the longer we've used it, the more we've learned about it. So you wash with a moisturizer. You try and protect your hands to avoid irritants. If you sort of got your hands in water an awful lot or doing an awful lot of housework, little things that you might not think about. Wear comfortable clothes made of things like cotton and silk, if you're able to. Try and avoid wearing wool next to your skin, which can be very irritant. And as we all know, if you've got dry skin, it's very itchy. And if at all possible, try and resist the temptation to scratch, because you get into the itch-scratch cycle, and that just makes it worse. And I suspect all of us have been aware of that at some time in the past.
Yeah.
There's no question that some people are allergic to pets, pet dander. So unfortunately, if you are one of those people and get really bad eczema linked to, Bonzo or Fifi, you may have to sort of think about, where they're best placed. If you're washing your clothes, use a non-biological washing powder. Okay. Use a double rinse cycle to remove any detergents from clothing. And if you do have eczema, try and keep cool, because overheating makes eczema worse. But moisturizing is the key thing. Now, it may be the point where you need to sort of moisturize 3, 4, 5 times a day, and it can be a bit of a pain, to start off, to get things under control and get your dry skin under control. But if you do that and you avoid the soaps and the bubble baths and the detergents, you'll very quickly find you can just come down to once a day. Okay. And even if your skin comes back to exactly where you'd want it, keep that once a daily moisturizing regime going, because many people find if they stop it, they start to slide back to square one again. But moisturizing your skin is absolutely key.
All right. Let me just ask you about some of the creams, because when you look at some of the adverts for your face creams, yeah, not only do these little jars cost, well, in some cases, hundreds of pounds, on the side, they're full of all sorts of things like contains a wonderful amino acid, which is essential for your skin. But as we've just said, the skin is a great barrier. It's very good at keeping things out. So kind of rubbing this stuff on, hoping that this amino acid will somehow magically get incorporated into your skin and get rid of all the wrinkles, sounds a bit far-fetched to me as Joe Public. What do you think about this stuff?
I've got to be very careful what I say here. As a blunt northern man, I can put my foot in it sometimes. Absolutely. Your skin has no idea whether you are putting a simple emollient that's £2 or £3 in cost to one that's £100. And quite frankly, the simplest and the cheapest is as good as you need. The fundamental treatment, if you're trying to moisturize your skin, is called complete emollient therapy. And the goal of it is to keep skin well moisturized all the time to help repair your skin barrier and keep your skin working as it should. And basically, I describe that as everything that goes on the skin should be an emollient or moisturizer, and all soaps should be replaced with moisturizing or emollient wash products. And the key principle is use a soap emollient or an emollient to wash with, and then you follow it after your bath or your shower by application of a leave-on emollient. Okay. Now there are creams, there are lotions, there are all types of different types, ointments, bath oils. But the key thing is that these are simple, they are preservative free, they are fragrance free, because fragrances are fragrant in them because of added chemicals. Oh. And for what it's worth, I tend to use myself a particular moisturizing range called the Aproderm range, and I use that because they are vegan friendly, they are additive free. They are designed to be the simplest, most basic emollients that work across a whole range of dry skin conditions. And you can get those, you can buy those yourself, or you can get them from your doctor. But the key thing is keep it simple. So sort of to answer the specific question with those fancy adverts that I'll be watching on my TV tonight, I do tend to sort of have to have an extra slurp of wine when I'm watching those to keep my blood pressure down.
Okay, fair enough. Let's put that to one side. What about diet? Because so my son is 13. When he was a bit smaller, he did actually have a bit of eczema. It was never that bad. And we used to buy goat milk for him. Now, I don't know if this was all in the mind, whether it really did help him, but our impression was that it did seem to, or at least not make it any worse, and potentially help him a little bit. What kind of dietary advice do you give?
It's a very common question, and the short answer is it probably makes relatively little impact on our skin. The slightly longer answer is it makes relatively little impact, but there are some people who seem to have healthier skin if they follow a certain diet, but that's just individual to them. There is no particular healthy skin diet. What I would say is, as the largest organ in the body, the healthiest diet that we can eat anyway, in other words, for example, like the Mediterranean diet, and you're eating a sort of low fat, high protein, low ultra processed food diet, we're just, eating fresh fruit and veg, keeping hydrated, all the usual suspects. The more you can do that, the greater the chances are that your skin will thank you for it and be healthy. There's actually, you mentioned sort of the milk. There's no definitive evidence at the moment that organic dairy products or help reduce the risk of eczema. Another one, that eating fish oil in pregnancy helps prevent eczema. There's no evidence at the moment that that's actually statistically correct. But there's no question that some people find if they do cut down things like dairy, their skin seems to improve, and that's just peculiar to them. And you can have genuine dairy intolerance, where if you have dairy products, your skin will react. But that is a relatively small number of people. So in a nutshell, the healthiest diet you can eat is the one that's right for your skin.
Sure. Okay. One thing that we did notice that definitely had an effect was as a kid, and still now, but well, he's only 13, but when he was younger, he used to like swimming a lot. Now, in a swimming pool, he'd have great fun, but all the chlorine and that, it wasn't that great for him.
No, and it's a really common trigger. Kids love swimming. I suspect you and I loved swimming as kids. Very, very chemical water when you're swimming in a swimming pool, and it is actively drying and it is actively damaging to the skin. So the thing to do if you've got a kid that loves swimming, they should be swimming. Great, more exercise you can get, the better. But just make sure that they shower well afterwards, and that they have, a soap-free emollient shower gel that they can use. It keeps their skin from drying out, and they use a moisturizer maybe when they get home or at bedtime that day. So don't stop your kids swimming, but it is a well-known factor for dry skin in children, especially the more swimming that they do.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this next point I want to make is going to sound a bit negative. It's not meant to, but so putting on the creams, which it stops the itching and makes things feel better and look better. It's kind of dealing with the symptoms, isn't it? Because as you said, for a lot of these things, no one really knows quite why they get set off. Has any work been done? Does anyone know about root causes of these things? Is it in your genetics or something?
There is a genetic element. There's no question. If your parents have atopic eczema or psoriasis, you're probably more likely to have a tendency to it yourself. The environment is definitely becoming more of a factor than it was, say, 30, 40 years ago. Again, probably due to the amount of product that we put on our skin, perhaps the amount of washing that we do of our skin. I'm quite a big fan of when I was little, my kids were little, of getting them as dirty as possible, getting them into the dirt and getting some immunity sort of from that. But it is multifactorial. But our modern lifestyles, probably, including things like central heating, and the clothes we wear, probably work against our skin rather than for it.
Okay, all right. Well, you've given us lots of ideas on the way to reduce the effect of having these situations of eczema and psoriasis. So very helpful. If people want to find out a bit more, if you're a sufferer and you're actually sort of thinking, okay, can I just, is there a go-to website? I don't know, does the NHS have a good website or just another resource which might be useful? I know you've started a podcast about dermatology. Tell us a bit about that, and also if there are other websites and what have you.
Yeah, the NHS is a very sound one. The British Dermatology Association is absolutely super. And if you want to sort of go and look at things in depth, that's the place to go. But one of the reasons why I started there are two podcasts on skin issues was that in the modern world, we are better informed. We have more access to more health information at the click of a mouse than at any time in history. But it doesn't mean we're better educated. There is the tyranny of choice now from the age of the internet, and so you get such conflicting information about what is right for your skin and what is wrong for your skin. You can almost pick anything that you want to see out of the internet. And so I thought, well, right, let's actually get some clarity of thought here. Let's get some really clear, concise, sensible, bite-sized information for people with the common skin conditions and any questions they might have. And so I started the podcast, and I started this with another GP called Dr. George Moncrief. And George is to really the godfather of skin conditions in primary care. And I've known George for many years, and he's probably forgotten more dermatology than I've ever learned. But between us, we have these two podcasts. Now, one is called Skin Deep. Now, that's the one for the general public and anyone that's interested in general skin problems, Skin Deep. And there's another one called Rash Decisions, and that's aimed at healthcare professionals. But anyone can listen to either, so any member of the public can listen to the Rash Decisions one. But we just go into a bit more detail in that one. And at the moment, we just finished the first series of recordings. That's coming out every 3 weeks. A second series has already been commissioned on the back of its success, which is great. And that's going to be every fortnight. And we're going to be having special guests involved and push things out and have listeners' Q&As. So it's very, very popular. But this is one of the reasons why we decided to put it together, just to give, if someone thought, right, what can I go and listen to where I know I'm going to get really sound, common sense, practical advice? That's where we are with those. And that's why I've got involved. And I'm so happy to be doing them because the feedback is great, as I say.
Good. Right. Well, that sounds like a very worthwhile exercise, as was this. So, Dr. Henderson, thank you very much indeed for taking a few minutes to chat to me. It's much appreciated.
And you, Mike. It's great to see you. And thank you to everyone listening. And I hope you found it really helpful.
Thank you very much indeed to my guests this week. They were Janet Street Porter and Eamonn Holmes talking about shingles, then Dr. Roger Henderson talking about our skin, in particular eczema and psoriasis. And of course, a big thank you to you for listening, and have a healthy week. Until next week.
Thanks for listening to the Relax Back UK show. Join me, Mike Dilk, again next week for more fascinating interviews and chat. If you're listening to the podcast version, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family and friends. And have a healthy week. Until next week.